Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, this is Terry Minjares, VOCA Grant Administrator with the New Mexico Crime Victims Reparation Commission. Thank you all for checking in to the VOCA Quarterly Performance Measurement Tool, or PMT, reporting webinar. This is for February 2021, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Also joining me is Lourdes McKenna. Lourdes, can you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Lourdes McKenna, and I am one of the other VOCA grant administrators with the New Mexico Crime Victims Reparation. Terry will be doing an overview of the performance measurement tool and some of the frequently asked questions, and then we will log on to the website and walk you through how to complete this quarterly report.
Thank you. So just an overview of the grants department. I know most of you already know us, but just to do an overview. So we have Mary Ellen Garcia, who is the grants bureau chief, who is the head of the grants department. Wanted to also include email address and our direct cell phone work number. As I mentioned, Terry Minjares, VOCA grant administrator, and also Lourdes McKenna. And we also have 3 other folks in our grants department who can also provide assistance with PMT. And just so you all know, all of this information is available on our website under the Contact Us. Also, if you need any information from our administrative department or our compensation department, that information is there as well. Let's move on. So just a little bit, just an overview of the content of today's presentation. Going to go over the reporting, which is going to include deadlines, some more information about the technical assistance that our office can offer, and then we'll go over a narrative. I know a lot of our agencies have questions about that narrative section that comes up in quarter 4. And as Lourdes mentioned, she will do a walkthrough of the online system that is hosted by the Office for Victims of Crime. And then we're going to go over a PDF tool that we have issued every quarter, just to provide some screenshots of what, to provide more guidance about how to submit that report. And then also we're going to go over in detail some frequently asked questions that come up as agencies are submitting their report, and then also some common errors that we see and also OVC sees on their end. So hopefully that will help for that process. So just a little bit of an overview. So as you all know, and you all have a copy within your agency's portal within web grants, or the CVRC web grant system. So you'll all have a copy of that grant agreement, of that grant contract. Number 2 specifically says that agencies are required to submit quarterly performance reports on the performance metrics identified by the Office for Victims of Crime and the New Mexico Crime Victims Reparation Commission. So these quarterly statistical and performance reports are to be received into the system on the 15th day after the end of the quarter, and then any late or inaccurate reporting will delay the payment process. So all demographic information is required in the program and annual reporting, and it must be collected unless a victim declines. So that just kind of an overview of that requirement as a recipient of VOCA funds. And so just some deadlines. So these deadlines have been issued out to all of our subrecipients via email. And you all have already submitted the first quarter, which encompasses October 1st to December 31st and due January 15th. We have the following quarter which we are currently in right now, January 1st to March 31st. That's due the 15th of April. And then we have quarter 3 and 4. Again, due quarter 3 due July 15th, and then quarter 4 due October 15th. And we absolutely understand that there are circumstances, leadership transitions, emergencies within your agency that come up. And sometimes you can't meet that deadline because there are circumstances out of your agency's control. And what we ask is you just please check in with the grants department, give us a call, send us an email, just letting us know what's going on and when we can expect that report. We also have really strict deadlines on OVC's end that we actually do have to submit at a specific time. So just please keep the communication open with us around those deadlines. A common question that we have is, what do I do with that PDF we used to use? And so CVRC has retired that previous PDF. So now, starting last fiscal year, agencies were now required to go onto the OVC system to enter the data manually themselves. And then CVRC reviews that, approves it, and then it goes through another review process through OVC. OVC will review that, review the data, and then they will get back to us if there are any questions or any corrections that need to be made. So, we do ask that you please use the OVC system for updated questions, because that PDF, actually is, could bring up challenges if there are any changes to the order of the question. So please continue to go onto the OVC website for current questions. So technical assistance. So the grants department is available to schedule, a phone call or a Zoom meeting to provide technical assistance. Oftentimes agencies will have really specific questions about how the data translates, how the data on the OVC system that needs to be collected translates to their own data collection within their own agency. And we're happy to check in with agencies to schedule a meeting to really go through, to go through some of those questions that might come up. So we're really happy to do that, and we have been able to do that, and it's even been a little easier with the availability of Zoom right now during the pandemic. So we do have an open door policy. Just please keep in touch with us. And we also know that there are transitions, employee transitions within the agency where we have a new person coming in who has been assigned to submit the PMT report, and they are looking at this through fresh eyes and they have questions. So again, happy to provide that technical assistance as new employees to the PMT report are being onboarded. Again, you can connect with us through the phone numbers or emails that were mentioned in the above slide, or you can email cvrc.grants@state.nm.us. We all have access to that email address, or you can call the main number at 505-841-9432. And again, if we have scheduled a meeting with you all in the last fourth quarter, please don't hesitate to reach out again to us in the first quarter or the second quarter. As sometimes we forget, wait a minute, how did I answer this question last time? Totally appropriate to continue to communicate with us. We are here to help you all to make sure that the information is submitted if you have any data collection questions. So again, please continue to communicate with us. So the narrative portion of the PMT comes up in quarter 4. So these were the questions that we saw this last quarter. And again, we want you all to keep these questions in mind as you all are completing the first, second, and third quarter. Just to have that data prepared. And I can just go quickly down the line. So the number of requests for services that were unmet because of organizational capacity, you know, we really appreciate the feedback that we get, because not only are we reviewing this information, and this helps us to be able to fully understand really the challenges that our service providers are facing, but it also helps OVC to get, you know, a national scope of what is going on with service providers. The other 3 questions are around surveys to clients. And so this also becomes really important to understand how the agency is getting feedback from their survivors. So these 3 questions are really important to complete. Next, we have challenges around programming that the agency is facing, you know, during the specific federal fiscal year. I know for Q4, you know, because of the pandemic, we saw that continued challenge of, you know, how do we switch services from in-person to virtual while still, you know, protecting our staff, protecting our clients. And so it's really important for us to get that feedback. Another one is describing the services that, you know, that the agency wasn't able to meet, and then what those challenges were. And again, it's not necessarily, you know, a deficit because of the agency, or, you know, they weren't doing this or that, but really, you know, often it's capacity. You all are seeing so many survivors, and it's really important for us to see what those challenges are. And really being strategic in how we can support our agencies. So really these narrative pieces we see in Q4 are really important for us to get a good picture of what our agencies are facing, how they're providing services. And as I mentioned before, the agency can track their narrative questions in other quarters, but we ask that you all keep that for your records and refer back to those previous quarters to answer Q4. What we, you know, and this will just help so that in Q4, you're not last minute trying to remember, well, what did Q1 and 2 and 3 look like? So just really keep these questions in mind in preparation for submission for Q4.
Terry, I just wanted to reiterate what you just said, that the questions that are asked in Q4 are annual questions. So when you're answering these questions, the data that is being provided should be for the entire award year, not just for Q4.
Yes, great, thank you. So next, I will hand it over to Lourdes to go over the OVC PMT online system.
Great, thank you, Terry. So it's just a moment to change view so that I can log on to this system and you can see my screen. All right, so this is the Office of Justice Programs. You all should be familiar with logging into this system as we've been using it. Again, the address is ojpsso.ojp.gov. You'll put in your username and password and log in. And then you'll select this OVC PMT button. The first time that you'll log into this system will be at the beginning of the award year, and that is to complete this sub-grantee award report. So you would click on this SAR button. On our end, we're seeing a list of all of the agencies. When you log on, you'll see only your agency. So you would select your agency, just confirm that the contact information and the point of contact information is correct. If you see something that needs to be updated or changed, please send an email to the grant administrator. Next, you'll see a list of all of the subawards that the agency has been awarded. And when you see one that says in progress, that means it needs to be completed. So you would click on the button here that says update, I believe. This one has been approved, so we're just going to review the data. When you open up this report, there are two sections to it. The first section is part one. This is all information that New Mexico Crime Victims Reparation has entered into the system, and we ask that the agency review this data to ensure that it's correct. If there are any changes needed on this part one, it does require you to contact our office directly so that we can go in and update that information. So again, these subgrantee agency name and address, the point of contact, the subgrantee organization type, and then the dates of the project. So you can see this is for the current date, 10/1/20 to 9/30/21, and it will have your subaward number listed. The purpose of the subaward, again, a continuation of VOCA funded projects, as we are all in continuation status. The next section asks for a breakdown of how the funds that are awarded will be used based on these four categories: child abuse, domestic and family violence, sexual assault, and underserved. This information was transferred from the previous year, but we understand sometimes things may change. So again, please review this and let us know if there are any changes that are needed. And you can see child abuse is broken down even further, as is sexual assault and then underserved. So those are all part one of the report. Part two, starting with question number 7, are the areas that the agency will be required to complete. So the area served, the county served. And then the question 8 asks about match. So we want to know how much of your match will be in-kind match. Those would be things like donated rent on a building, those types of things. How much of it will be cash match, meaning expenses that will be paid out by the agency through other sources. The system will automatically calculate those two and ensure that the match listed is the correct percentage based on the awarded amount. Question 9 asks the agency how you plan to use these VOCA and match funds. As you'll see, these questions 8A through F are the same as the quarterly PMT report. So the agency should go through and check mark the boxes that correspond with the services that will be offered. Question 10 is types of victimization. Again, the same thing, the agency should go through and check mark the types of victimization that they expect to serve during this award year. Question 11 talks about budget and staffing. 11A is the total budget for all victimization programs and services for this agency. So this is not only your VOCA awarded funds, but the budget for the total agency. And then that amount should be broken down into where that funding comes from. So your subaward amount will be listed, other state or territory funding, other local funding, if you have other federal funding, and then non-federal funding. These totals, B1 through 5, should equal the amount that is listed in question 11A. 11C is the total number of paid staff for all sub-grantee victimization programs. So again, not just your VOCA funded staff, but the total number of staff within the agency. And then D asks for a breakdown of the staff hours funded through VOCA and a match. So again, this is asking for the hours that staff will put in throughout the award year. Question 11E is the number of volunteers supporting the work of this VOCA award. So count each volunteer. It doesn't matter what their FTE is. A person is a person, so you're going to count them as a whole person. And then question F is the number of volunteer hours that are expected to be provided for this award year. Once this is complete, then you would save this and submit it. Carrie, anything on that you'd like to add?
No, I think you covered it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So again, this STAR report will be done at the beginning of the fiscal year, and you will receive an email from us at CVRC letting you know it is open and available for the agency to go in and enter the information. Next is the quarterly report. That's our PMT report. And to access that one, you click on this Enter Data button. And then you will select the reporting period. As was mentioned, we've just completed quarter one for our current funding year, October 1st through the 31st. When the next quarter is available at the end of the second quarter, you'll see those dates appear for selection. So we'll pick this quarter one date. And then again, I'm seeing a list of the agencies. You should just see your agency. So let's just pick one here. And this is what the form will look like. The first question is the total number of individuals who received services during the reporting period. The great thing about this PMT report is that if you hover over the question, the system has built-in instructions that will pop up to provide you more information or clarification about what they are asking for. So question one, again, is the total number of individuals who received services during the reporting period. So again, this reporting period is October 1st through December 31st of 2020. An individual is counted only once during that reporting period. So if you saw an individual in October, you're going to count them as an individual who received services. If you see them again in November or December, you do not count them again for question one. However, you will continue to track the services that are provided to them, and we will get to that when we talk about question 8. So total number of individuals who received services. Number 2 is the total number of anonymous contacts received during the reporting period. So that may be people that called into a hotline that you could not get demographic information on. Number 3 is the number of individuals entered in question 1. How many of these were new individuals, meaning that your agency saw them for the first time during this reporting period? For the first quarter, October through December, all individuals in question 1 are going to be considered new. Because it is a new funding year, the agency is really kind of starting fresh with collecting the data. So all individuals are considered new for the first quarter. So you can see in this case, the total number of individuals that received services were 104, and the total number of individuals that were new were 104 as well. Question number 4 is going to ask you for the demographics for the new individuals. So race and ethnicity, gender identity, and age. And again, once you enter these numbers, the system will automatically calculate this total. You are encouraged to enter zeros and make sure that every box is completed. Please do not leave one blank. Question number 5 is the type of victimization for all individuals identified in questions 1 and 2. And so again, 1 is your individuals receiving services and 2 are your anonymous contacts. I know people have asked, how do I know what the victimization is on an anonymous contact? If it is a rape crisis hotline, then I think it's probably safe to assume that sexual assault would be the type of victimization, or if it's a domestic violence hotline. So the agency should look at the services that are provided and select the best option for the agency. In question 5, an agency may count an individual as having more than one victimization. So this total number may exceed the number of individuals served because we know that individuals often present with more than one type of victimization. You do want to track how many individuals had more than one type of victimization so that you can enter that. And then if there were any special classifications of individuals. The second section of the PMT are direct services. Question 6 is the number of individuals assisted with completing a compensation application during the reporting period. We would like to see that be a high number as we encourage agencies to assist their victims that are eligible for compensation to make sure those applications get in. Question 7 is just check boxes selecting the type of services provided by your organization. This list should be familiar. This is the same list that was in the SAR that was completed at the beginning of the year. And you would just check mark which of these services were provided. Once you check mark it, it will expand question 8. So if this agency had not checked marked D or E, D or E would not show up on this list. So question 8 is the total number of individuals who received services by type and the number of times that service was provided. So the first one is information and referral. The first question is enter the number of individuals who received services in this category. So again, this number is how many people received information and referral from the agency. And then a 1 through 4 is the breakdown of how many times those services were provided. We know that agencies will provide multiple services to a victim, or that they may provide the same service to a victim multiple times. And so this is where you're going to count how many services. In the beginning, I talked about a person is counted only once in the quarter, but you'll keep track of the services that you provide. So if you see somebody in October, you track that person and you track the services. If you see them again in November, you won't count that person again, but you will continue to track and count the services that you're providing that individual. Again, question B, the number of individuals who received services, and then a breakdown of how many times each of these services were provided. And you'll do that for A through E, depending on which ones you check marked up here in question 7. Something to keep in mind is asking the number of individuals who received services. So if you take the number of individuals for A, 16, the number of individuals for B, 29, the number of individuals for C, 132, the number of individuals for D, 20, and the number of individuals for E, 73, those totals must be equal to or greater than the number you entered in questions 1 and 2. You told us that you served 104 plus 88, so you served 192 individuals. So on question 8, you have to have at least 192 in those categories to show which services were provided. Now it may exceed that because again, individuals may receive multiple services, and so those services would be counted more than once. Once you have all of this data entered, you would hit the review button or save and continue at the bottom. And there's a box that says, mark this data as complete. We ask that once agencies have completed this data, you do not mark it as complete. Ensure that the save button has been pressed and that the data is saved, but do not mark it as complete until CVRC has reviewed it. Once we have reviewed it and validated that the data is entered correctly, we will then mark it as complete and approve that. Terry, anything you'd like to add about that?
Sure. So I think another function from the OVC system is that if the math isn't mathematically correct, an error will pop up and it won't let you go to the next section. So kind of what Lourdes was talking about of certain numbers needing to equal or be greater than, especially in the population demographics section, it won't let you move forward to the next section. And so again, if you're having challenges, if you're kind of stumped as to why it's not letting you move on, give us a call or send us an email so we can provide some technical assistance.
Great, thank you. So I will switch it back over to Terry so she can go over some frequently asked questions.
Thank you. So what Lourdes went over, we also have that in a PDF format. So it's the Federal Fiscal Year 2021 Quarterly VOCA PMT Report Completion Guide. And so many of you, most of you, if not all of you, have received this through email. So this was attached with a description with bullet points of how to complete the report, and also a link to the website. And so I'm gonna see if I can scroll this, just so you can, just as a refresher, so you can see what this looks like. So this is actually exactly what Lourdes went over, screen by screen. So it does go over how to enter the data. So again, this is a PDF version. So not only will you have this webinar to look at, but you can also have this PDF. So again, it goes exactly to what Lourdes was talking about. This is the screen that she mentioned about not marking as complete. If you all accidentally mark it, just let us know, and we can go ahead and fix that. So the reason we don't like to mark that as complete is because we want to review the data first before sending that over to OVC. So that's this document. And again, if you misplace this document, we're happy to email this to you as needed. Okay. So some frequently asked questions and common errors. So for technical assistance, we ask that you reach out to, and for technical assistance around any login information, or I forgot my password, or And really it's around around the getting into the system itself. We ask that agencies reach out to the OVC PMT help desk. So their email address is ovcpmt@usdoj.gov, or you can call their toll-free number. Just a reminder that CVRC does not manage that website, so we are not able to kind of help with that login process. So please reach out to them if you're having any questions or challenges with logging in. Go ahead.
So I do just want to add, though, although we do not manage the website, we can't help reset a password or tell you what a password is. We are the ones that have to update the point of contact. So if an agency finds that there's a change in the point of contact and it needs to be updated, that information does need to come to us at CVRC so that we can go in and update that in the system. If you call the help desk and say, Joe Smith is no longer here, I need to change the point of contact to Sally Jones, they will refer you back to the administering agency, which is CVRC, because those changes do have to be initiated by us.
Thank you. Number 2, and this is what Lourdes already mentioned, but for quarter 1, the question 1 and 3 will be the same, as all individuals are going to be considered new. So just a reminder to keep to ensure that quarter 1 is again that that new reporting period, and all clients will be considered new. So question number 3, which is the new individuals, the response in question 3 should be less than or equal to question 1, right? So if a response is provided in question 3, be sure not to check that we cannot track new individuals, again, because if you cannot track new individuals, then that will, question 3 will be 0. So please keep that in mind. Again, the demographics, so question 4A through C. So each of the totals, as Lourdes mentioned, needs to equal question 3, the number of new individuals. And as I mentioned before, if there are any mistakes, as you're trying to save, it will not let you go to the next section. And also please remember to enter all of them, all of the cells, even if it is a 0, because the system does not like blank cells. Number 7, please check boxes that apply to the grant-funded activities during the reporting period in question 7. So checking the boxes should reveal the data entry fields under each category. So oftentimes we get calls, you know, I checked the box to be able to fill out 8, but nothing's coming up. So what we advise agencies to do is to try opening the PMT in their latest Chrome version, and the latest version of Chrome. So please keep that in mind if you need to reach out to someone in your IT department. I know some folks are, you know, any government agencies have to reach out to their IT department. So please keep that in mind as you're completing the report. Another thing that comes up is entering a value higher than 0 for the number of individuals served and provided services. So again, that might prevent the checkboxes from coming up. If that still doesn't work, we ask you to press the enter or return key, as an error message might pop up, and you just need to click OK, and then that'll bring down the subcategories. And just so you all know, this is really common. We get a lot of questions, agencies freaking out, say, wait a minute, I can't enter the data. So you know, please try these tips, because it kind of happens frequently.
Carrie, can you go back a slide? I think you skipped a slide.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
That one, thank you.
So number 5 is the types of victimization. So question 5A, and again, this is what Lourdes mentioned. So the total number of victimizations must be greater than or equal to both question 1 and question 2. So the number of individuals served and also the anonymous contacts. In addition, if there is, please, if other was checked, please include an explanation. If possible, or you can, and if it can also, you can enter 0 or NA, but you will receive an error message if you try to enter an explanation. So actually, let me read that again. So in addition, an explanation for other, so if you all click on other, is not required when your response to other is 0 or NA. You will receive an error message if you try to enter an explanation for 0 or NA, so in other. So there is a text box on the bottom of the actual other field where you can enter more information. So again, enter 0 or NA. So number 6, direct services, question 8. Again, this is what Lourdes mentioned, but the total number of individuals who receive the services, so again, it's the sum of all those, the main categories in question A, they must be less than or equal to the number of times services were provided. So again, these are some of the common errors that we see, and also that OVC also sees with agencies nationally. So, if you have any questions as you're going through this, and you're getting any error messages, or somehow the math isn't adding up, please reach out to us. Okay. Any other errors or questions that you received, Lourdes, on your end?
No, thank you for going over those. I think because we just finished the first quarter, the most common issues were questions 1 and 3, services, number of individuals whose services were provided to, and new individuals. Again, those have to be the same. And I know after a year of doing it, people forget. And so just a reminder about that. And then that the number of individuals served on questions 8A through D have to be equal to or greater than the number of individuals that were listed in questions 1 and 2 as being provided services. Those were really the big items that I saw this quarter.
Great, thank you. Also, I do want to mention that the PMT report does open on the first day after the close of the previous quarter. So for instance, for quarter 1, it would have opened on January 1st, because I know a lot of agencies are anxious to start working on that, but the actual quarter does need to close in order for agencies to be able to enter their data.
Great, thank you, Terry. And we hope that this webinar was helpful to you. And remember, we are always available to provide any assistance. Do not hesitate to give us a call or send us an email with any questions regarding the PMT.
Thank you all.